The Northern Territory coroner has found that a dingo was indeed responsible for the death of baby Azaria Chamberlain 32 years ago.
The case that divided a nation is finally over, and Azaria's mother has finally been vindicated. Lindy Chamberlain-Creighton joins us now from Darwin. Lindy, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Mark.
How significant is it to you that we had that coroner's finding yesterday and you are now holding that death certificate that shows that Azaria was indeed taken by a dingo?
Well, I think it's very sorry, I am really tired after lots of interviews and a big day yesterday. So if I stumble over my words, forgive me. But look, yes, it is really significant because it now means we don't have any more idiots coming back with theories of what happened and trying to reopen the case and blame the people in the tents next door, blame the children, blame Michael, whatever, because there are still people saying, I don't care what the evidence was, I've made up my mind and I don't want to listen to sense. And we've seen the powers that be come back so many times with constructed evidence that it's just ridiculous. And apart from that, there have been many dingo attacks in Australia over the years from the time it was first settled, but it's never been on court record. And until it is, people go, oh yes, but it was a long time ago, or it's hearsay, or they must have been provoked. And it really needs to be recognised that these animals are dangerous, so that people really do take notice and take the precautions they need to take regardless of what anybody else is doing. So they know that the situation they're in, they have a backup plan if something goes wrong.
Now, this case has come full circle. The first coronial inquest found exactly the same thing, that a dingo did take Azaria. Why do you think so many people in those intervening 32 years simply wouldn't believe you and Michael?
Well, it's not quite come full circle because Dennis Barrett, although he found it was the dingo, thought there had been intervention afterwards by person or persons unknown because he had got some letters sent to him that purported to claim that. He was not to know at the time that they were mischief-making and some people trying to get back at others and get them into trouble, thinking that would be a lark and things like that. So it left it open, and his finding also really jumped on the toes of some people and departments that got their backup. And it just went from there. And there were a lot of things that neither we nor the public were aware of that were happening in the Territory at that time that really were a precursor to this.
But also feeding into the fact that people didn't believe you was the way that you and Michael carried yourself. There were a lot of people who were startled at the at times lack of emotion. You, of course, were criticised for not crying enough in the various inquests. Do you understand how that perception took hold?
Yeah, I know perfectly well. When we did cry, it was edited out because the media said, no, the public gets mad with us. When you get upset, they think it's our fault and think we did it. Well, occasionally it was, but very rarely. And so it gave the impression that we were very stoic and, no emotion, that sort of thing. And look, it wouldn't have mattered what we did. If we didn't react exactly the same as the individual watching us reacted, that individual thought we were being weird. We've got numerous letters from people saying, I don't know why they say that. You did exactly what I would have done. I thought you were perfectly normal. So, what's normal? Who's normal, you or me?
Yeah, well, that's a very good question. Now, legal finding is one thing. Public perceptions can take much more effort to change. Do you now believe you have the public or the majority of the public behind you?
Oh, look, you have a guess at that. I mean, the people that I see on the street, the negative people, have been mainly behind the scenes or in the woodwork somewhere, didn't come out in the open. And I think there was much more of that, made of that in the media than perhaps there was around Australia. However, the support is around here is overwhelming, and yet there's still people that, you know, either walk past you with their nose in the air or, for the second time ever, a reporter, well, actually this lady wasn't a reporter, I don't think, apologised for what she'd thought. And when you look down the comments on her blog, there's a lady, presumably a lady, saying, hey, I made up my mind a long time ago and I'm not going to change it. So obviously yesterday's finding never affected her at all, and you will always get closed-minded individuals like that, you know, they see one thing and don't want to have a look at the rest. The people that read the headlines and never read the newspaper, and read the cover of a book and never read the book.
It's been a very long 32 years for you. Of course, you did spend some years in jail. Your marriage to Michael collapsed. You've been the target of some extraordinary vitriol over that period. Although you've taken all that into account, you said yesterday you don't really feel angry, and I think a lot of people would be surprised by that.
Yes, well, if they want to know what I feel about that, I guess they need to read my next book when it comes out, because I'm writing one on forgiveness. I'm about halfway through.
You're coming across as, given what you've gone through, are you coming across as a very, very forgiving person?
Well, you know, a lot of people think that forgiveness is for other people, but it's not. And so I'll just give you a little insight and say forgiveness is for yourself for being sidetracked by other people's meanness and motives and events, and taking back control of your mind and going ahead with your life and placing the responsibility for all the nastiest and the bad things and the expectations of getting something we wanted and we didn't. Replace that back to where it belongs, onto the person, the event that hurt us, and going forward with our lives and not dwelling on the past and keeping going. And I think when we learn how to forgive, how to live with ourselves, forgiveness is a very new science. It's only been around since 2001 or 2. And the studies they are doing are just showing health benefits and lowering blood pressure and heart attacks and all sorts of things. And we're really doing ourselves a disservice if we don't. We're just letting the thing that hurt us initially hurt us over and over again. And it's a matter of choice. You can choose to do that or not. And I don't choose to spend my days being miserable.
In the wake of the finding yesterday, there are questions about whether the NT government should issue you an apology, and you've said you're not interested in such an apology unless it's genuine. Why do you doubt that you'd get a genuine apology?
Well, have you ever seen a parent say to a kid, now you apologise or I'll give you a smack? And so the kid stands there and goes, I'm sorry. Well, you know he's not sorry, and all you're doing is teaching your children to lie if you force them to do that. And the Northern Territory is a big naughty kid, really. Unless they do it voluntarily and mean it, it doesn't mean a thing, and we all know it doesn't mean a thing. So what's the point?
Now, we're just about out of time, Lindy. Now that you have this ruling and you're holding that death certificate, how easy is it going to be for you now to get on with the rest of your life?
I've been doing that for quite a long time. You do not spend 100% of your time working on court cases. We've had things ready to go for a long time, but we we had to wait until there'd be somebody that hadn't been involved in the case before. And, you know, time teaches all people things, and I think now was the right time, and we just continue with daily life. And for those people who are, you know, weren't alive at the time and wonder what all the fuss was about, well, they can go in on ebooks and get my book and read it up.
Lindy Chamberlain-Creighton and Darwin, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.